So if anybody wants to ask some questions, we'll be having... if anyone wants to have questions from Swamiji, we have some cards here, so you're welcome to take that. And we'll be having a session. What time is the session?
About 20 minutes before the last session. So Swamiji will be doing the last session a bit early.
So in the afternoon?
In the afternoon, yes.
Yeah, in the afternoon. So 20 minutes before the last session in the afternoon, there will be a chance for Q&A. So please have your questions ready. Okay? Thanks.
I think there are some cards in the back also.
Okay.
Anandi has some cards also.
So there are some cards here in the front and also in the back where Anandi is at the registration table.
ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यं निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिर्बोधभूतं यथा निद्रया यस्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्रचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ So मनोबुद्धि अहंकार चित्तानि नाहं न च श्रोत्रजिह्वे न च घ्राणनेत्रे न च व्योम भूमिर्न तेजो न वायुः चिदानंदरूप शिवोहम शिवोहम. So I am the self, nothing but the consciousness, limitless consciousness, undivided consciousness, etc., etc. The whole consciousness, consciousness which is whole. Whole is whole. There are no parts in me. No parts together can make whole. Yeah, it's a partless whole. Parts together make a whole, then whole will fall apart, right? So parts together cannot make a whole. And a given thing which is made up of the parts is always limited in space. We should remember all these simple principles. Anything, any bigger, even astronomical, such a big, any galaxy also is made up of parts, still limited in space. Whereas consciousness is something which is specially limitless. The very space exists in consciousness, and therefore I don't have a parts, I am not part of the whole, I am whole. If I am part of the whole, definitely then the whole has a parts. If whole has a parts, someday whole will fall apart. If whole will fall apart, it is subject to death. Body can fall apart. Body is made up of parts. It will fall apart. And anything which is made up of parts will be put together, have been put together in time. Right? So it will fall apart also in time. That's how universe. The scientists are saying there will be a big crunch. They have given some name, big crunch. There will be a big crunch. Whole universe will compress. When Swamiji, trillions of years, we should not worry about. So it's a big crunch. It has expanded, and then there will be again big correction. The process already started, some are saying. So the bigger resolves into something else, and it resolves into something else due to force of gravitation, this, that. It's wonderful. Science is just wonderful, I'm telling you. If they don't speak about consciousness, everything is wonderful. They should not speak. It is not available for any observation because it's not object. Anything they talk about consciousness should not be taken seriously. Consciousness is something which is never available for objectification. What is not available for objectification at any time is only I. If I is objectified, it becomes non-I. You require another I to objectify that. Therefore, there is only one I, and everything is an object of I. There is only one I. Anyway, so I am the self. Well, I am consciousness. I am not these variable thoughts, etc. Manaha buddhi ahankara chittani naham. I am not this is a wrong statement. I am not mind is a wrong statement. Mind is I. I am not this. Everything is I because limitless. Remember, whole. You cannot take away anything from that. So anything is I. We have to see further. But anything is I. Mind, mind consciousness. Therefore, mind is I. Definitely. Mind consciousness, and you say consciousness, yeah? Mind consciousness is mind basically is object of consciousness. And any object of consciousness is consciousness. Any wave is what? Water. Right? So, pervading. Therefore, I am coming to that Satyamithya, but I am just saying, today we have to discuss. What can we do? Satyamithya we have to discuss. Without that, our stomachs will not be filled up. We have to discuss this. Satyamithya. From somewhere we will have to bring that. Anyway, so mind is not I, should not say. Mind is I am not the mind. Mind is non-separate from I, and now you can understand all this. Now let's say mano, buddhi, ahankara, chittani. 4 things have been told. When 4 things are told, you have to give a separate meaning for all 4. Otherwise, it will be repetition. So in Yoga Sutra, they say chitta vritti nirodha. So their chittam. So their chittam stands for everything. Chittam stands for mind, chittam stands for buddhi, chittam stands for ahankara, etc., etc. So that is a different thing. But here 4 things are told by Acharya together, means we have to give a separate meaning for everyone. And so what is mind? Well, it's an emotional mind, doubting mind, desiring mind. The process of thinking itself is mind. When you say, now my mind thinks, that's mind. Could you follow? Manaha. So whole faculty, the thinking faculty, is referred by the word manaha. Then buddhi. Well, further, buddhi means what? The resolving faculty. One thing only, one mind. Depending upon function, we give 4 names. Yeah. So buddhi means a resolving, deciding, inquiring, exploring, discovering faculty. It's called buddhi. So basically, it's like, let us think, let us take an example. Should I go to this retreat or not? Suppose, morning, before you came here, I think he keeps talking I and non-I. Yesterday was, all confused. That fellow seems to be very confused. And I, non-I, what was it saying? I think let us drop. And anyway, how Vedanta is going to help the person? You should pray and all that, This Vedanta is all intellectual exercise. I think we should drop it. No, but let's go. He may say a few things here and there. He's a funny guy. This is mind, doubting. Sankalpa vikalpa. Should I go? Then you decide to come or not to come. Buddhi. That's a buddhi. Deciding faculty. Buddhi. Okay. And then third thing is chittam. Chittam. Well, So you recall. When you recall something from your memory, that's Chittam. Memory, Chittam is a data bank. Data bank which is generated from your experiences. Right? So Anubhavajanya Samskara, Samskarajanya Smrutihi. Anubhavajanya Samskara. When you experience something, some impression is formed. All those impressions collected together is a data bank called Chittam. From there you recall. When you have a similar experience, you recall from that. And you say, oh, I met this person. So first time you met, you had an impression of the person. Now you again meet the person, you have that. Oh, I met the same person. Or I'm meeting the same person. So you have recalled something. So that is data bank. Chittam. Anyway, so even recollection process itself is Chittam, by the way. So you are trying to recollect. Oh, what is his name? What is her name? Oh, most of the time I forget some names. Swamiji, Hariyo. You get embarrassed because you should call by name. Then the person will feel comfortable. How are you? And once the person goes, then you remember the name. This is happening to me several times. Not fair. It's not fair, honestly speaking. But this is what it is. Some problem. So Chittam means data bank. Even the recollection process is also Chittam. Anyway, and the last is what? Well, Ahankara, the subject, which basically claims, owns the whole thing. Whatever is done by the mind, doubting, desiring, also is claimed as of his own. Then recollection, also claimed as own. So owner of everything. Yeah, that's called Ahankara. It's also part of mind. Yeah, Ahankara. Ego. And well, even the senses function. I see. No, I see. I see. Ears hear. No, I am here. That's ego. So seer, hearer. So basically legs walk or body walks. No, I am a walker. So owning them. Ego is basically owning them. You can say the subject behind all the activity of the mind, activity of the buddhi, activity of the chittam, activity of the senses, activity of the prana. Pranas are functioning. No, I am hungry, etc., etc. You say. So everywhere this I sense is associated. That's called Ahankara. And so one who owns emotions, one who owns memory, one who owns the function of the senses, everything. So that's the ego. And that's how this ego resolves, even a deep sleep state, because since it is a part of the mind, and mind resolves in a deep sleep state, you will see that this individual, well, the I sense also resolves. Therefore, this I sense is quite different from our bigger I. We should say bigger I, Chidananda. Even the Chidananda sustains this ego. Chidananda sustains everything. Well, this Chidananda sustains even ego. So when all this basically I am. So when I doubt, there is a doubt consciousness, etc., etc. I do not have to say. So everything is consciousness. So the doubt, emotion consciousness. Anger consciousness. Anger is consciousness. Understand? Wave is water. Please don't forget it. Wave is water. So anger is consciousness. Anger is I. I am not angry. That's the thing. Swamiji, if anger is I am angry. No. That's not correct. That's not correct. Because I am compassion also. Right? So therefore, if anger is I and I am angry, then I cannot say I am compassion. Reverse. Free from anger. No. Therefore, every emotion is I. Every desire is I. I told you already, because consciousness is undivided whole. Everything is sustained by that. Everything becomes object in light of this consciousness. Everything is revealed in consciousness. Thereby its existence is proven. Therefore, you should claim everything. If you don't claim all these things, you cannot say Chidananda over. If you dissociate, anger is not I, Swami. Anger is you. You are not angry. That's a different. Yeah, you will have to see that. So, ego consciousness, etc. I am consciousness. I am not mind. I am not buddhi. I am not chittam. I am not even ahankara, etc. And so when there is even visual perception also, as I told you, the next line says, nacha shrotra jihve, nacha ghrana netre. Simple. Neither I am not ears. I am not the sense of taste, jihva. I am not, a sense of smell, granam. And netram. So I am not a sense of visual perception. So I am not senses. So second line talks about that I am not senses. Senses are I. Where is I? Without I. Where is I? Swamiji, there is I. When you say there is I, you have already proven one thing. Its presence you have not marked. Like when you are seeing me here, please understand. So, what is most evident you generally forget. What's the common denominator you generally forget? Here when you are seeing me, you are seeing two things. But you notice one thing. Second thing, which is more responsible for your sight of me, you forget it. And that is light. Without light, how will you see me? So there are two things. You are seeing a body in presence of reflected light. But you forget that. When you say, Swami, you are there. Only one thing is there. But there is another thing which is pervading me. Because of which you are able to see me. That you forget. So when you say mind. But who has objectified mind? How can you say mind is? Unless there is a consciousness. Could you follow? And therefore, basically, consciousness pervades everything. Manaha, buddhi, chittam, ahankara, everything. But you are not that. If you are the mind, you cannot say I am intellect. If you say if the intellect is you and you say I am intellect, you cannot say I am mind, I am this, chittam, etc. Because you are that. But you are basically free from everything. You transcend everything, you are free from everything. You basically lend existence to everything. They all become object of consciousness in your presence. Your invariable presence. Your invariable presence. Any state, you remain as it is. Ever. And whole world basically becomes an object of consciousness in your presence. Like the sun. People say sun illumines the light. Sun illumines the world. Wrong. No, Swamiji, there is a verb we are using. Illumines is a verb. Verb denotes action. So sun illumines the action. As though sun is doing an action of illumining. No, sir. Sun is simply a self-revealing, self-illumining principle. Whatever is nearby gets automatically illumined. This is where that witness principle comes. Witnessing is not really witnessing. Swamiji, I am a witness of all my thoughts. You don't witness, you are present in the mind. You are very much manifest in the mind as a consciousness, and in your presence all types of thoughts are illumined. Thereby you say you are basically a witness principle. You are not doing an action of witnessing. Swamiji, I want a sakshi bhava. Sakshi bhava. So that's all mind actually. Anyway. So without consciousness, that is how, regarding senses, so beautifully in Kenopanishad, right? Defining the Atma, there is no other Upanishad, believe me, like the Kenopanishad. So direct teaching, no talk about Ishvara or creation, etc. All regarding Tvam-pada. You, who are you? Keneshitam patati preshitam manaha, kena prana prathama praiti yuktaha, Keneshitam vacham imam vadanti, etc. etc. And then Acharya says, Guru says, shrotrasya shrotram, vachoha vacham, pranasya prana, chakshusha chakshu. Shrotrasya shrotram, because of which the ear has a capacity to illumine the words. Ear is basically inert, made up of elements. It cannot illumine anything, it cannot experience anything. Well, but ear becomes conscious in presence of this invariable consciousness and illumines the worlds. Eyes also illumine the world, well, in presence of I, the consciousness. So therefore, without consciousness, all the senses do not function, but I consciousness is invariable in the senses, etc. I am not the senses are I. Now, regarding these two things, I, non-I, we are discussing like this, that non-I is I am not non-I. So, well, we have to understand this little clearly. Understanding reality is not that simple, because our understanding of reality is everything is real. My body is real, your body is real, this is real, this is real, this is real, this is real, that is real, that is real. Therefore, world is real. That's it. World is real. And so we have a very important discussion in the Upanishad, or Vedanta, where the reality is looked differently, quite differently. And so it says, whatever you consider something as a real is not real. Start dropping. My body is real. No, it's not real. My thoughts are real. No, it's not real. Mind is real. It's not real. My hunger, thirst, real. Not real. My memory, real. Not real. Then space, not real. Time, not real. And we say everything is real. So therefore, either Upanishad is right or either we are right. We who are not exposed to this teaching, Upanishad, etc., and feels that everything is real. Tree is real. See, understand. Tree is real. Then they say the bark is real. The trunk is real. The branches are real. The leaves are real. The fruits are real. Everything is real, real. Upanishad says your understanding about the reality is what you take it as a real is not real. Amazing. And they give an example, you know very well. The example of earthenware, right? And clay. And let's say pot and clay. Best example. Even though you might have heard thousands of times, but I am going to repeat it. Yeah. It's very, very nice to dwell upon it, to make our understanding of Vedanta very clear. Vedanta's understanding is a understanding of a reality. And understanding of reality also definitely involves the understanding of what is not real. And that understanding should be there, because what generally we take it as a real is not real. It's not real. And you have to prove it. Then you will understand, mind is I am not mine. Intellect is I am not intellect. What I say, then that makes sense. Means one is mithya, the other is satyam. That's for that purpose we are discussing that. So this is an example. This pot, etc., and the clay. And pot, of course, is born of clay and has a name, pot. But when you look at this pot, definitely in terms of its reality, the weight of the pot is weight of the clay. Therefore, my argument that the pot is real loses the weight. Definitely loses the weight. It's a weightless argument to say the pot is real. But Swamiji, why you are going pot? In place of pot, you can take this. You can take this. Any name and form. Any object in the world. We are taking example because that's an example in the Upanishad. But what it applies to pot, applies to body, applies to your mind, applies to your pranas, applies to your senses, applies to space, applies to time, applies to hall, applies to chair, everything. And there is something called play, applies to Siddhartha. That's the thing. So we have to understand that. So anyway, so basically it is born of clay, but when you see the pot, you are seeing clay. When you touch the pot, you are touching clay. When you smell the pot, you are smelling clay. When you smell the pot, you are smelling the clay. When you taste the pot, it's a taste of clay. Very smart. Very smart. lifting the pot goes away. That's a magic. You lift a pot and say, where is pot? Somebody, it's in your hand. Where is it? It's all clay. It's all clay. Anyway, so wherever you see a clay pot, all that you see is a clay only. And so basically, wherever a clay pot exists, I recognize clay. So before the pot was born, well, it was clay. Even now also it is clay. Pot is gone, and of course, it is all clay. So pot is cracked, and you say, well, clay is cracked. Clay is not cracked. Pot is cracked, basically. Still, the pot says, well, that I am pot. You are a crackpot. You are a crackpot. After analysis, still say, I am pot. I am pot. Basically, it's a crackpot anyway. So basically, it has to take it, the pot has to take itself to the clay first, clay last alone. Pot is only a form. We feel this is simple. It's not that simple. You cannot dismiss the pot. If you can dismiss the pot, you should not go out to buy the pot. You have a clay, fill up the water in clay. Therefore, pot is real. Show me the pot, where the pot is without clay. This is magic. This is the magic. Pot is not there at all. Okay, don't buy pot. You have clay, fill up the water? No. Therefore, pot is real. If pot is real, take your pot, keep clay with me. Zero. This is different. Yeah. This is entirely different. So basically, all that is there is a clay in a particular form. That's true. That form we call it as a pot, and therefore, well, not that the clay is pot, but definitely the form is pot. Clay is not pot, because the pot leaves the clay and goes with the brass, goes with the gold, goes with the steel. Yeah. If pot remains with the clay, you should say pot is clay, clay is also pot. Pot lives. Clay, leaving the clay as it is. Pot form goes with something else. If pot form goes leaving the clay, you should not say clay is pot. Yeah. Otherwise, wherever the clay, there will be a pot. If wherever the clay, there will be a pot, you should say clay is pot. Wherever the pot, there is a clay. But wherever the clay also, you will always see the pot. Then you should say reverse also, clay is pot. That will never happen. Pot will go with another things also. And therefore, we will have a golden pot and this pot and stainless steel pot, etc., plastic pot. Anyway, but pot basically is not a substance, we know now. Substance is clay. And therefore, in our language, we should have, well, potty clay. Because clay is a substance. Pot is an adjective, right? It is clay right now in a form of a pot. So, pot is adjective. Pot is sustained by clay. Clay is not sustained by the pot. So, any attribute is sustained by the substantive. It's an incidental attribute. Incident. Yeah. It's not a permanent intrinsic attribute. If it is an intrinsic attribute, pot form is an intrinsic attribute to the clay. You should say clay always stays with the pot. Intrinsic. Then you can say clay is pot, but this is not. And therefore, basically, really speaking, it is a potty clay or potty plastic. But in language we don't have. So, potty gold, etc. We should say. Somebody don't say this word, potty. Oh, leave it. So, you use the language, what is there. In your understanding, well, there should be a clarity. Well, of course. So, what should I say that the pot doesn't, the pot doesn't exist? No, a pot holds water. And so, there is such a thing as pot. There is such a thing as a pot, but not independent of the clay. Pot, you say existent, but not independent of clay. Pot is existent, self-existent. No. Pot is non-existent? No. Pot is existent? No. Self-existent? No. Could you follow now? Pot is non-existent? You cannot say pot is non-existent. If pot is non-existent, in which you are filling water? You are filling water in pot, not in clay. Therefore, pot is not non-existent. Oh, pot is not non-existent? Fine. Pot is existent? Pot is existent means pot exists on its own? No. So you cannot say pot as a non-existent. You cannot say pot as existent. It's in between. Whole thing. What applies to pot applies to my body, applies to my senses, applies to my mind, applies to my pranas, applies to my memory, applies to my emotions, applies to you, everything, applies to space, time, everything. That's how it is. Earlier understanding of the reality is this is real, this is real, this is real, independent of each other. Everything is independent of each other. Real means independent of each other, self-existing. Everything is independent. Tree is real, that is real, this is real. That's our understanding? No. Everything is like pot. You cannot prove its non-existence. You cannot prove its existence. You want a categorical answer for pot. Categorical means either you should keep in a category of a non-existent or keep in a category of existent. You cannot keep. You cannot keep pot in existent category. If you say pot is an existent category, then what about clay? What about clay? No, Swamiji, clay is existing, pot is not. So then pot is non-existent. Then fill up water in clay. This is called anirvachaniyam. You cannot categorically answer. So you cannot dismiss. Pot cannot be dismissed, of course, as non-existent, and pot cannot be taken as existent. Existent is independent existent. And that is what the pot is. And in fact, whatever you deal in the waking state, in a dream state, is all like this. Whatever you are dealing in your life with, all are like this pot. All are like this pot. But Swamiji, for pot, the clay you have told, that's fine, we can understand. But for all this, what is the reality? What is that clay? Seeing that, you can say everything is like pot, all names and forms. That is the Chidananda. That's what I told you already. Try to prove the existence of anything without Chidananda. I already told you in the first class. In class number 1, today, I already told you. Try to prove the existence of body without consciousness. Try to prove the existence of the memory without consciousness. Try to prove the existence of thought without consciousness. Try to prove the existence of hunger without consciousness. Try to prove the existence of circulation without consciousness. Try to prove the existence of time without consciousness. Try to prove the existence of space without consciousness. Try to prove, please. When you say space, already space is shining. Object of knowledge, object of consciousness. Pervaded by consciousness, anything is revealed and its existence is proven. That's the reality. That's the reality. And therefore, pot is clay. Clay is not pot. Therefore, mind is Chidananda. Chidananda is Chidananda, not mind. Clay is clay. Could you follow? Clay appears in various forms. Pot, lead, this, that. Just appearance. It's called incidental attribute of clay. Incidental. Right now it is in this form. Tomorrow, well, it will be in another form. It will be in another form. It will be in another form. Nothing is intrinsic. Same way, Chidananda alone is like a clay. All entire Jagat, all forms for which the humanity has given names, Muktatma, flask, microphone, name. You have to give a name. If you don't name, how will you transact? How will you communicate? Bring that to that person, to that. Person also you can say, bring that, to this, to that, this, that, this. What is that? Give name. Vyavarastu shabda prayoga. You have to name it. That's how some people use a lot of pronouns instead of proper nouns. We get confused. Some people start with the pronoun. He came. Who came? I was coming here and he came. Who came? Confusion. Communication is clear when you drop those pronouns. Pronouns should be used once you use a proper nouns. Later you can use, not before. So any form has a corresponding name. Pot is a form of a clay, has a corresponding name, pot, P-O-T. Some other form, lead. Some another form, elephant. They make, right? Out of clay also they make elephant and horses, and in India you find all beautiful horses and they make out of that. Huge horse I saw in Ahmedabad in a one restaurant outside. Somebody, do you visit restaurants? No, I'm just saying I saw from the road. So 2 horses they kept in the entrance. Huge horses. Beautiful. Total clay. So clay will be in any form remaining clay. Chidananda is in all the forms remaining Chidananda. That's how you are able to claim, I am Chidananda. Amazing. At the same time you can claim, I am everything. Is it not so? Is it not so? If all forms are there, Chidananda. No forms, Chidananda. Pot form, still clay. Pot form gone, still clay. Asanga. Could you follow now? Asanga. Any object of consciousness is your own incidental attributes. Any object of consciousness is your own incidental attribute. Mithya attribute. Whole creation is you. You are not creation. You are Chidananda. That is the wholeness. That is the wholeness. Could you follow? Yeah. This is wholeness. You are undivided whole. Because all are mithya. All forms are your forms, but forms cannot divide you. Pot cannot divide clay. Clay, if you ask a clay, take an interview of a clay, this pot is basically sitting on you and crushing you. What pot you are talking about? If you ask a water, this wave is crushing you, oh dear water. If you ask to Atlantic water, this particular wave, Atlantic wave, it is crushing you. He says, which wave? What are you talking? Where is wave? Could you follow? Where is wave? If you ask to water, that's how it is. So anyway, definitely water says, I'm all alone here. What is there is me alone in this ocean. Where are waves? Mithya. Anyway, so you can take it in other examples also, like the shirt is fabric, but fabric is not the shirt. This is all the way. This entire thing basically that exists here, subject, object, everything. Ego, I told you, subject, hearer, and the object of hearing, everything basically is, both of them are not independent of consciousness. Hearer consciousness. Object of hearing, music consciousness. And there is a thought of music, that thought consciousness, right? And therefore, so basically consciousness that is specially limitless, time-wise limitless, no object can be independent of the consciousness. So what we call this consciousness is Chidananda, etc. is the truth of everything. Space is Chidananda, everything is Chidananda, galaxy is Chidananda. And so, well, definitely, that is why they say if everything is Chidananda, the observer also is Chidananda, and what is observed also is Chidananda. I was talking to someone just before a few minutes, so I am giving this example also. Both of them, basically the observer and the observed, enjoy the same plank, same truth. And what happens to observer is picked up by, the particle which is observed. So the observer decides to measure the velocity of the particle, and the particle behaves like a wave. The observer decides to basically recognize the position of the particle, and the particle behaves like a particle. This is what scientist is telling. Eugene Wagner has told this, and recently the Nobel laureate physicist in 2022 who got this the prize based on that his double slit experiment. I don't want to go into that, but you can see in the YouTube, the whole thing is explained, that how the things are all connected, where one thing is which is far distant is they do something with that, the corresponding thing somewhere else, which is connected to that, happens there also. It's a wonderful thing. That's how now all scientists are saying this world is not a inert entity. It looks like a one conscious being who manifests in the form of this Jagat. Well, you are very true, but don't say further, because they will not say. A true scientist will never talk about Ishvara. Never. If he talks about Ishvara, he is not a scientist. Definitely. Definitely not. Because he wants proof. He wants proof. And when he says there is no Ishvara, well, definitely his understanding is not correct. We'll be seeing that when I talk Shivoham, etc. At that time I will talk to you. So anyway, the observer decides to recognize the position of a particle, and that observed particle becomes particle. Amazing. So we say, we feel that the particle behaves like a particle or a wave, dual behavior. No. Well, physicist, as I told you, this Eugene Wagner says that both the observer and the particle enjoy the same degree of reality. Both emerge from consciousness. That is, we say, but he just said both have the same degree of reality, enjoy the same Planck, etc. Anyway, so we say, well, Chidananda alone is in the form of the subject, observer. Chidananda alone is in the form of the what is observed. So, this understanding of Atma as a Chidananda is very important. So, you can say here now, Chidananda plus your mind, Chidananda. You should remember, clay plus pot, clay. 100 gram clay plus pot, 100 gram clay. 100 gram gold plus 5 bangles, 100 gram gold. Maybe less, not more. Even if you add forms, it's due to the magic of a goldsmith. You always get 100 gram, but not pure gold. Possible. So that is all possible. So you add names and forms, right? Gold, even that you add bangles, certain forms, and name. Bangle, B-A-N-G-L-E. Still it's same. So Chidananda, well, basically, which is whole. You add any name and form. You add your mind, still Chidananda. Add your senses, Chidananda. Add your body, Chidananda. Chidananda plus means this experiencer you add, Chidananda. Subject. Chidananda plus what you experience. Add it. Keep on adding it. It is Chidananda. So this doesn't look. This is a mathematical equation. Infinite plus infinite. 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 Infinite minus infinite. If you say infinite minus infinite, it is 0. That infinite is a finite number, okay? That's how it is. But why did you bring infinite? That's what I said. Chidananda, whole, infinite, whole, including space, time, everything. Purnamadah, Purnamidam, that is what it is actually. Purnamadah, Purnamidam. This is Purnam, that is Purnam. This is Purnam is what is Idam Pratyaya Vishayaha. This world is Purnam, Chidananda. That stands for I actually. So basically, that is Purnam, means I also am Purnam. Purnamadah, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnamudachyate. From that Purnam emerges. Means names and forms are added. Right? From the clay, all forms are emerged. Pot, etc. emerged. Means you added name and form. Still Purnam. So addition. Purnasya Purnam Adaya. Subtract. Take away Purnam from the Purnam. Still Purnam eva avashishyate. What is left is Purnam. That's what it is. Because what you add or what you subtract is all mithya. You add pot in clay, lead in clay, or any other thing you add in clay, it is still clay. You take away forms, still it is clay. So what is there? You alone are there. That is how it is. Sarvam khalu idam Brahma. That is how it is. You are everything, basically. You are Brahman. That's what it means. So Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. This is the truth. It is free from everything. So whatever you add, it remains the same. It doesn't make any difference. So, but you have to first negate what you are not. Because what you are negating basically is making you appear as a limited. When you say mind is I, that is fine. But I am mind, limited. I am buddhi, limited. I am body, limited. So therefore, if in order to appreciate your Chidananda, limitless whole, or whole, undivided whole, I don't like this limitless whole. In order to appreciate it, already a misconstrued I, a limited I, which you want to get rid of at any time. Yeah, you don't like any limitation centered on I, shown by others to you, or you are aware of yourself with a limitation. You just don't like. Any limitation centered on I, you can't stand. Because you are not. What you are not, you cannot stand. Water cannot stand heat. The moment you switch off the stove, it knocks off heat. Immediately temperature starts dropping. Yeah. It's not your nature. Every jiva is living in an unnatural state. When you go to deep sleep state, you are in a natural state and you don't want to come out of it also. After 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours. The most beloved thing is not your ornaments, not your saris, not the food. I'm telling you. You are ready to give up ornaments, saris and everything. You go to a particular place in a reception and you want for that occasion, she wanted a particular sari and particular types of ornaments and she fought with the husband. And he said no. Because of the Trump we will have a lot of difficulty. So I don't want. But you got it ultimately. And you went to and everyone appreciated. Oh, from where did you get this necklace? Don't ask me, how much is the cost? How much I paid? I paid fortune. They said, I paid fortune for it. So dear to you. You come home. You will throw. I'm telling you, literally you throw. You will keep it tomorrow, you say. I'll keep it tomorrow. And go to sleep. Do you think a human being who doesn't find a more promising a source of joy would give up this? So,
because the dosa food is here, let's stop at 12 because otherwise it will
okay.
get cold.
Yes. Okay. Wonderful. So there is something which is inviting you for a better sense of, better experience of a joy. So you give up everything you give up. Even a company of, suppose your son has come from United States, in America. From America he has come and meeting after 5 years. There will be a time when you say, Beta, you go to sleep, I will also go to sleep. Hey, he's coming after 5 years, you should sit with him, embrace him continuously. No, a moment will come. Something is basically waiting for you to make you more blissful, let us say. I don't like this, but to make you feel more joyous. That is deep sleep state, where there is total absence of this sense of inadequacy, sense of smallness. You are very much there, but without any dimension. No dimension. What's your dimension in deep sleep state? Infinite. No dimension. If you are aware of your dimension in a deep sleep state, it is not a deep sleep state. You are still waking up. If you feel that I have a still dimension in a deep sleep state, it is not a deep sleep state, you are awake. And we'll be discussing in the afternoon how you are the only source of Ananda. There is no other source. We'll prove it logically, Chidananda, etc. And now we have to enter into Ishvara. Shivoham, Shivoham. Chidananda Rupa Shivoham, Shivoham. So Aham Shivaha. I am Chidananda, that is fine. But I am not Shiva. They say like this. There are people with a namam. They say never go near to this Vedanta. They are going to hell saying I am Ishvara. Never have a contact with them. They are untouchables. Advaita Vedanta. Saying I am Narayana. Here it is Shiva because of the meter. I can say I am Narayana also. Yeah. We'll see that. How I am Ishvara. I am Chidananda, that's fine. Now I am Ishvara? Yes, you are Ishvara. Yeah. Om Purnamida Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Sapurnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. So everybody can go for a lunch. Hot lunch is waiting for you. Yeah. So we'll be meeting at what? 1 o'clock? 1:30? What is the time now? When will we be meeting? 1 o'clock. Okay.
I'm Elizabeth.
Azad.
Lovely to meet you.
Very nice.
Namaste. I've been studying Vedanta for 3.5 years. I started, I don't know how I started. I started just being drawn to Swami Dayananda I have no idea. So I started with yoga. I started doing Kriya Yoga and then was interested in this. And then followed Swami Tadatmananda and went to Arshabodha in New Jersey.
Okay.
And then studied online with Andre Voss. He's an Australian.
Okay.
Very young fella.
Okay.
But brilliant and a disciple of Nima. Do you know Nima? She's
Nima Majmudar.
Yes, so she's his teacher.
Oh.
So I follow him on Zoom.
Nima and Surya.
Yes, she's his teacher. But I've been reading all of his books, Bhagavad Gita home study course for the last 3 years. So really lovely to meet you. My dream is to come to Sailorsburg sometime.
Please come.
Yes. Would love any wisdom from you as I follow this path. Any advice?
Just be always in touch with the teaching.
Yes.
Get exposed to the teaching, listening, and that to listening.
Yeah.
The various talks of our Swamis, whatever.
I've been listening, but I think what you said is true. A lot of times we know intellectually we are the whole, right? That we are the self. It's self-evident, but
there
forget.
You forget.
Yes.
Question is,
Yes.
basically, you cannot say I don't have experience of wholeness.
Yes.
Yeah. That
Because it's
wholeness only
self-evident.
manifests as experience of joy. In a moment of joy, there is no smallness, there is no lack, right?
That's right. There's no dualism.
There is no
They
dualism.